Alright, so, wanted to make this video, because I don't think it'll be controversial. I hope it won't be, but I think the Dragon Rulers can all come back. Yeah, I said it. I think all of them can come back, with maybe Redox being the only one that you're like, maybe not you. Reason being, they don't really do anything anymore. Like, compared to all the other really top tier decks, Virtual World, Drytrons, especially for a metagame like Master Duel, which is what the scope of this is in, this conversation is for, they don't really seem like anything more powerful. In fact, in a lot of ways, they're really negative. When you think about it, like, imagine if all of them came back at one, what would that really do? It might make some of the dragon decks a little bit better, but for the most part, you're going -1 to get one of these level 7 bodies on the board that have no archetype support, just none, besides just the little rulers, which again, you still have to go negative. I put in quotations negative because you're quotations, but you still have to go negative to get the body on the board. You know, we have Tempest. It hasn't shifted the metagame. It hasn't, thrown into a flux. It's here, and you mostly see it in wind-based dragon decks. Armed Dragon, Dragoonity. I don't particularly see it in any other deck, and I mean, when you think about it, only one of its effects can somewhat be used by a wind deck. Like if you're playing like even like a Tri-Brigade deck, or Literalist Tri-Brigade, where they will have some wind monsters. You don't really see them playing Tempest because Tempest doesn't really provide them any value. At least I haven't seen them play Tempest. I've only seen it in the two decks that I mentioned. There may be some other decks that will add them, but for the most part, it's mainly going to be a dragon deck, and it's an optional card at best in those dragon decks. And it's the one that can actually search a card out the deck. The other rulers, the fire one, this is, you get to destroy a card on the board. You have to get rid of it and a fire monster to just destroy one card on the board. There's so many cards that can do that during your opponent's turn. That's not even a good effect. Like, you put this in a fire deck, and unless there's a really big important fire dragon that you're looking to try to get into, it's not really going to get you all that much value. To get it on the board, you have to banish 2 other fire and or dragon type monsters in order to get it on the board. And as far as I'm aware of, most of these elements, the water, wind, fire, and earth, they don't really have monsters that benefit from those elements being banished. Again, from what I've seen playing on the rank ladder. The only reason why I'm saying Redox might still be a little bit different with him is just because Animaxipator is a pretty strong deck, and giving them this might be a little much. But outside of Emancipator, I don't really see him doing all that much extra either. Other than the fact that if you have an earth monster in your hand, it can special summon a monster from the graveyard, including itself, technically speaking. So instead of having to use this effect to banish the card, she can actually just use it to special summon itself back. But yeah, I don't see these cards breaking any metas. A level 7 is a very odd number. No pun intended, but it's an odd number, so you're not really going to be going into a whole bunch of combos other than, you may make some rank 7 plays, but your rank 7 list in general isn't all that grand, and a lot of these cards there's already better support from anyway. Obviously the biggest one that you would potentially go into would be Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosac, because obviously having 3 bodies on the board for the price of 2 it's pretty nice. So you could link climb with it. Um, but I've seen other decks that can basically do that for fewer resources compared to having to use the dragon rulers to pull something like that off. So I don't think that they would be all that impactful to the meta if they were to come back, you know. I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks, but honestly, I think they could come back. I don't think that they would break the game. I don't think they would be overbearing. In fact, I think they would be mostly underwhelming outside of a couple of niche cases. I mean, Tempest has already been kind of underwhelming in itself. Again, very, very specific, but when you think about, you know, trying to maximize the value that these cards bring, all of their effects are hard once per turns, and you can only use one of their effects a turn. So if you special summon one of them, you then can't banish it and get another search off of it. You know, if you know, you're not going to get that benefit. So in this meta, they would really be slow. There's so many cards that you get to just use both of their effects. You can special summon them out the hand, and then once they're special summoned on the board, you get to special summon another card out. You get to maximize all of their effects all at one time, again, for fewer resources. You have to banish to special summon these monsters onto the board, and then during the opponent's end phase, they return to your hand. Though, granted, you're probably going to do something with it by then, so that doesn't really matter. You know, they will help some level 7 decks. I mean, Red Eyes is going to definitely be happy having some level 7s in there, but you didn't have to play other elements to add them in there. You know, and the only deck that I can think of that would like having these elements into a dragon deck would be the Dragon Maids. And that's because all of them, outside of Chamber and Shiyu, which are the new additions, you know, they are elements. So they would technically benefit from the support, but at the same time, they don't benefit from being banished. They don't. So you're really hurting the deck trying to add the dragon rulers in here, which the water part, let's talk about that part actually. When it comes to dragon support for waters, I mean, this list of water cards is pitiful. You know, like if you add the water Dragon Lord, what are you searching with it? You know, what overpowered dragon water monster are you really looking to search off of its effect? You know, most of the water dragons that are good are like extra deck. Maybe you can argue some of the rituals or something, but again, you already have support for them, and then the others are just kind of extra deck. So if you bring back the water dragon ruler, what does it even do for the water decks? You know, so I don't know. I don't see them breaking the game. Before Master Duel, I thought that they would break the game, absolutely, because I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I saw the potential that those cards had prior, you know, in a weaker metagame. But at this point, the power creep has gotten so high, they look underwhelming at this point. Like, they don't look all that good. Maybe if they got some new support, they would be very strong, but I don't see the dragon rulers being busted. I just don't. But, well, obviously a Grand Magic deck would be good, but I mean, again, these cards won't make any deck overbearing from their addition, especially at 1. Especially at 1. At 3, they might can shift the meta if all the dragon rulers came back at 3. There'll be so much consistency with them and the ability to kind of fly through resources that each turn they would be really strong. But at 1 each, you're not really going to get a whole lot of value out of it. I don't think so. But you know, if you disagree, let me know. Call me an idiot. I'm okay with it. It's the internet. What else are you going to do? And tell me what you think.